Today we are going to build and test out an automated defense against one of the greatest threats in Darkness Falls hordes, the Succubus Queen. In previous base builds, I have implemented a succubus trap which was designed to ensnare and finish off the she-devil. But can it handle her majesty? And if not, what will it take? Let's find out together. Welcome survivors, this is Eerie Knight of the Pseudoposse, and today we're going to do a bit of experimentation to see exactly how we can automate our defenses to deal with the Queen herself. I've built a little test bed here which we'll use to build and test our designs. I'll start first building a minimalist version of the succubus trap down here in the green region. This version will provide the bare minimum of protection against your average everyday succubus, and thus won't be most optimal against her, but it will do the job against a handful simultaneously. The top region here in orange, we'll use that to make an upgraded version of the trap if our first design cannot handle the Queen. Let's get to it. To protect yourself against explosions and her physical attack, you'll want to place these railings at least 3 blocks above where you stand. Placing it 2 blocks above your head will make it more likely the splash damage from explosions can hit and kill you. 3 blocks is the least amount of room you can give yourself if you are tight on space, but I'd still be a bit careful as sometimes a properly placed explosion can still hit you. I like to use bars as it will allow you to place turrets underneath the bars as well and aim them upwards into the trap, but in this particular build, I'll place them inside. Now, it bears mentioning that the succubus are very similar to vultures in that they will attack the blocks almost directly over your head. So while the trap does not need to cover the entire surface area of your base, say for example you have a 9x9 platform, you could build the trap over a smaller region within that space. It is important to stand underneath it when the succubus comes. If not, she will completely avoid it as I had extensively tested out in my original design. Back to the turrets, it is vital that you have a laser turret, otherwise she will power heal through everything you throw at her. If you have a robotic junk turret with the appropriate mod, that can also work as a substitute, though it will require you to occasionally reload it. All the turrets and the powered hatches that I'll soon place will be activated off a motion sensor. It is optional to place more than a single motion sensor depending on the shape of the trap, but here I'll just use one. We'll protect the turrets and the sensor behind the railing so they can shoot into the trap. These will be encased with solid Q blocks from the top as these are the most vulnerable parts of the design. Within our 2-block wide opening, I'll position our hatches such that when they are off, the roof remains open to the outside. When they are powered on, the hatches open, blocking off the roof. Essentially, Succubus swoops on down, the motion sensor spots her, hatches are activated trapping her inside, and the turrets deal all the damage. Wiring everything is very easy. From the motion sensor, everything will be connected. It would be most ideal to independently connect everything together. Thus, if a turret is destroyed, it doesn't bring down everything connected to it. Same thing with the hatches. You don't want a single destroyed hatch to stop all connected hatches from operating. That being said, I did mention this design will be suboptimal, so let's connect all the hatches together in series and see what happens. It is important to point the camera down into the cage. You don't want to close the hatches before they come in, so make sure the sensor will activate the hatches once she begins to enter the trap. And finally, put the trigger duration around 8 to 10 seconds. If you make it too long, it will not be very effective, as if it misses trapping a succubus, it will take the trigger duration amount of time for the trap to reset. With that completed, time to test out against some normal succubus to establish a baseline. I'll spawn in 5 and see how our trap handles them. And it looks like it handles them quite well. Now, it is important to mention the other major reason this design is suboptimal is that it works much better with higher cages. That is, the distance between the railings over your head and the powered hatches. A deeper cage will better prevent them from escaping when they swoop in, as it will take them longer to reach the exit, giving the hatches more time to close. That being said, even the minimalist design here can adequately trap them at a decent frequency. It also goes without saying the material you use to construct your trap is extremely important. You can get away with weaker building materials if you add more turrets. The idea being is they'll take less beating if you can kill them faster, so you can use weaker materials. Just be cognizant that you need to compensate with higher DPS. Okay, I think we can all say this design is a resounding success for the regular Succubus as was expected. Now, how about Her Majesty? So immediately, we can see they have a buttload more hit points. I spawned in 3 of them, each 30,000 hit points. That is a ton of damage we need to dish out, especially considering they do heal. And it takes a long time to finish off even one. The trap does an admirable job surprisingly, though we do lose a hatch, and because it was one of the first hatches wired in series, everything after it is disabled. The trap still does work, as they'll still swoop in and try to reach me, but it does lessen the time they remain in the trap each time they come down. In the end, we do eliminate all 3, but it took a large chunk of the Horde to accomplish that, and we took lots of damage. So, can we do better? For our next design, we're going to fix some of the deficiencies. First of all, we are going to build taller, essentially doubling the depth of the trap, which will be more efficient at trapping them inside. Because our opening is wider, we'll use a 4x3 garage door. I've placed some unpowered doors just to determine the alignment and placing. And for this particular trap, I think we can get rid of the door at the end over here and not cover the entire roof with the trap. As I mentioned at the beginning, the trap does not need to cover the entire span of your base. You just need to make sure to stand under it when the succubus arrive. Like we did with the first design, I'll place the railings all around to create the walls and floor of our cage. This time, however, it is considerably deeper. Also this time around, we're going to place all of our turrets on this side as there is no space on the other side to place them, which is okay. Again, I'll put in a mix of laser and non-laser turrets. Just as long as you have the lasers to stop the healing, the other turrets can actually do damage. This time I'll also independently connect everything from the sensor to each turret and door. And to get around the max number of wired connections, I also have a relay to give myself some more independent ones. Again, we want to point the camera downward, and I'll even go through the trouble of better pointing each turret, which I did not do the last time. If you are having any trouble with getting the right coverage with your motion sensor, set the target to self, put power duration to triggered, and walk around the region to see when the doors open and close. In this instance, it is well aimed, as if I am too high, the roof opens, but as I move around the interior of the cage, the doors activate, closing it off and remain closed. As we are on triggered power, the moment I exit the camera's field of view, the doors will close. So use this method to test out your coverage, especially if doing this for the first time. It would appear we are ready for the queens again. Round 2, fight! I spawned in 5 this time, so let's see how the trap performs. They are absolutely shredding the garage doors. The downside of the garage doors over the hatches is that if one is destroyed, it creates a much larger gap for them to fly through. On the bottom of our cage, I can see a couple of the railings are getting hit really hard and look close to breaking. And there we go, it just died. The railings were destroyed and the explosion killed me. Looks like our trap took a heavy beating. Without upgrading to titanium, how can we last longer? Recall how I said we can overcome weaker materials by adding more turrets? Well, I won't go nuts here. I'll simply add 2 additional laser turrets. I'll also add a second layer to the bottom of the cage for some extra protection. And that's about it for changes. Let's give this a shot. And there we go. That worked a lot better adding 2 additional turrets. We killed all 5 around midnight, which is pretty dang impressive. I did accidentally leave a hole in the second railing layer, but that ended up not biting me in the butt. One of the garage doors was destroyed, but they still managed to get caught under the other one. Just because you're a queen doesn't mean you are smart. Anyways, that was very effective. The key points to take away are that the deeper your trap, the more effective it will be. If you are struggling against Succubus or her queen, do not despair. Build yourself a succubus trap, line it with enough turrets to eliminate them, and the more turrets you place, the weaker the material you can use to construct your cage. Though I would not skimp out too much, as they deal a ton of block damage. Shotgun turrets are more ammo efficient. Inspecting the ammo used at the end tells an obvious story. The SMG turrets nearly depleted their ammo in most cases, while the shotguns are looking pretty healthy. I hope you all learned something valuable here and can go forth and build your own effective succubus traps. Thanks for watching, everyone. Please consider hitting the like button and subscribe if you like our content and want to see more of it. Also, leave a comment if you have any design ideas you'd like to see realized here on the channel. I'd also like to give a shout out to our wonderful patrons whose support is funneled back into our channel to improve our quality. Thanks a bunch. On that note, this is Eerie Knight signing off. See you all in the next one.